Ayo, what is up, my people? How you been? How you doing? How was your weekend? Mine, it was pretty lit. Went out to Berlin, visited the fam, had some fun, ate a lot of good food, and now we're back. I know it's been about 3 weeks since I've been on. Had to deal with some school stuff, had to deal with getting in order and all that, but we're back to regular videos, back to the scheduled programming. So welcome to my channel if you're new, and if you're not, welcome back. And this is my channel, the Brinks Stop, where the money drops off. I'm your host, the friendliest face in the game, the man of the hour, and the boy wonder himself, Kick-a-ching. And today, guys, I got a great episode for you. Before we get down to it, let me just tell you, as always, this is not financial advice. What I'm doing here, this is just friendly discourse between me and my audience. So please take everything I say with a grain of salt and do your own research. If you have any investment questions, decisions to make, please consult a financial advisor who is a professional. And last but not least, when in the cryptocurrency markets, make sure that you do not overextend yourself. So only put in what you can afford to lose. So that's it. Getting down to it, like I said earlier, I have a special episode. We're going to be talking about over-the-counter trading, over-the-counter markets, and basically what's going on in the space with Bitcoin right now. So I've had a friend, we'll just call him Hank. His name is Hank. But anyway, I had a friend. He asked me, or he told me, he was like, Kick-a-ching, because he invested early. He's been invested since Litecoin was like $50 and then went up to like $100+ per Litecoin. But anyway, he's been invested for a while. As the market started slowing down, as everything started dropping, he kind of started moving away from investing into it so heavily, and just left his money in, didn't take it out. He's not one of those dumb people. He left his money in, just to see what would happen, and he's still here. But he wants to, start investing heavily again. And he's like, what's happening with the markets? Why are the prices, so stable all the time? What's going on? When's the bull run supposed to come? All of that good stuff. And I told him, as I've been learning and maturing within this space, I've been learning a lot about market trends. I've been learning a lot about, different types of analyses. I've been learning a lot about just the overall market sentiment, or how to view good projects, how to see what projects are better than others, how to see which projects are actually keeping up with their roadmaps and which ones are not. And as I've been learning this stuff, I've been learning lots of information that I feel like not a lot of people talk about, or if they do talk about it, is like very briefly. And one of those things is over-the-counter markets. So Bitcoin, we'll see that we have Bitcoin currently at, actually let me refresh this page. It's been up for a while. Might be like 64.32 or something. Okay, so we have Bitcoin right now. Let's change the right again. So we have Bitcoin at 64.50.90, and it's up 1.69% for the day. Ethereum 210, up 4.35 for the day. XRP 46 cent, up 2% for the day, so on and so forth. So if we've been looking at Bitcoin, another thing to mention before I get really into it, market cap 212 billion, and overall Bitcoin dominance 52.7%. So if you guys have been paying attention to the market for at least like the last month to 2 months, since September at least, Bitcoin has honestly been the same price, like around the same 64 to 65, 66, even 67 at some points. But it's just been in this constant, it has been fluctuating, but it hasn't been like drastic fluctuations. Like it hasn't gone up to 8,000 and then down to 6,000, then down to 4. It's just been staying at this 64 to 66 to 6,700 range. And to answer the question of why it's staying at the range, the most simple answer you could say is over-the-counter trading. So what is over-the-counter trading? So when we're looking at over-the-counter trading, before we look at the definitions, how they talk about it. Over-the-counter trading is basically how high net worth individuals, it's how institutions with large sums of money that want to get into cryptocurrency, and also just small groups of people who have large sums of money want to get into crypto, it's how they trade cryptocurrency. And what over-the-counter market does, not only does it allow them to deal away from the market, so basically that's where the over-the-counter term comes from. It's like away from the market. And when they're dealing away from the market, that means that when they buy, it's not going to affect the price of Bitcoin. When they sell, it's not going to affect the price of Bitcoin. And when they do their orders and all that, it will happen pretty much the same day. So to give an example of this, if I were to say have $2 million and I wanted to go buy $2 million worth of Bitcoin. Now, if I were to go onto Binance or KuCoin or some other exchange and I put in an order for 2 million, so many people, whoever those hundreds of thousands to millions of users on that exchange were, if they all saw that big order for $2 million worth of Bitcoin, everybody else will start buying Bitcoin. Now, keep in mind, if you're at an exchange or such as Binance or KuCoin or whatever, when you're buying Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, whatever you might be buying, someone has to have a sell order in that direct price range that you wanted. So if I wanted Bitcoin for $6,450 and say 70 cents, I'd have to wait for like the perfect person to come by and say, I'm selling so and so amount of Bitcoin for your exact price that you listed. But then again, not everybody's going to have $2 million worth of Bitcoin to give you. So that means that you're going to have to wait for someone else to come along, or you're just going to have to pay a higher price and only get that certain amount of Bitcoin at the price that you wanted. But what over the counter allows you to do, these firms and stuff like that, they already have Bitcoin in reserve. So they have enough to contend with whatever amount of money, not billions, but if you have millions of dollars, they have enough Bitcoin to give you for that millions of dollars. So what that does is it allows them security for one, and it allows them to avoid all types of, it's not really manipulation. I don't want to say manipulation. That's not really the right word, but just I would say the volatility. That's the perfect word I'm looking for. It allows them to avoid volatility when getting into the space, because if I have $2 million and I go to an exchange, and I just gave you guys an example, and say for instance, there's only a person offering $500,000 worth of Bitcoin at my price. Not only am I going to get $500,000 worth of Bitcoin, but once I put in that full order for $2 million, then the price of Bitcoin is going to skyrocket. It might go from 6,400 to 7,000 or even 72. Now at that point, I'm losing money. I can't even get the full $2 million worth, and I've only gotten $500,000 worth of Bitcoin at that price that I really wanted. And the same thing comes from selling too. Now, if I want to sell at a certain price, maybe I might be losing money, but most likely if I'm selling $2 million or millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, I've already calculated how much loss I'm going to have when I sell, or how much profit I'm going to gain. So if I'm selling and the price is, where it is, 65.90, 64.50, and say for instance I go to an exchange, now if I put in that $2 million worth of Bitcoin and sell it, then other people are going to see that order, and whatever their small amount is, those are going to execute before my large order. So those small amounts is going to be boom, 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 and it's going to be bringing the price of Bitcoin down, down, and down before I even get to sell mine at the original price I wanted. So that means that either some of my original Bitcoin order will be sold at that price that I wanted, or it'll just get to the point where it's so low that I have to rearrange my order, and I won't be able to sell my Bitcoin anymore unless I take a larger loss. So a lot of these firms and institutions, they don't want to deal with retail investors like you and I. And if you're not a retail investor watching this, then you could skip over this. But if you are a retail investor, hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, and you're investing, then they don't want to deal with those people and, the whole market volatility that comes with people like us who watch the markets, who trade in the markets, and what might happen to the price if we're doing it. So if they go to the over-the-counter firm, they could get the Bitcoin or whatever they want to get at that exact price and for millions of dollars. So that's what that is. And the reason why is pretty much, it's pretty much been said, but we can keep looking. So again, where the whales are at play. Oh, that's another big reason too. Liquidity in the market is restricted by the number of individuals participating in the market at any one time. It is also restricted by what currencies carry that liquidity. So this is another great point to make, the liquidity. It's like two sides to the selling of Bitcoin, like I just told you. So there's that one side that's dealing with the volatility and other people seeing your sell order and the whole sell order falling apart because it's so big, it's such a large sell order that not all the Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever might get through. But the other part, which I really didn't think about, but which is also very important, is when you're talking about liquidity, what will you, liquidate into? So if I want to liquidate into, say for instance, I have a ton of XRP, and say for instance, I have $5 million worth of XRP, and I want to get my Bitcoin value worth for it. I can't just go to like some random exchange because I wasn't too, exchange savvy. Say I went to some random exchange and I wanted to trade into Ethereum, or I wanted to trade into something else, and they didn't have that. Or if I wanted to trade into a stable token and they didn't have that, then that kind of defeats the purpose of liquidity. And though there are so many markets and that it's not such a big problem, there's still the problem of, okay, if I liquidate here, then what can I liquidate into? Like, what is this exchange partnered with? And then on top of that, every exchange has a different fee for liquidating into whatever currency or cryptocurrency that you want it in. So if I were to liquidate it into Binance, how much would that cost? If I were to liquidate into Gemini or Kraken or Coinbase, how much would they be charging me? Now, if I do it over the counter, there's just a one standard fee, like a one-time standard fee for that whole transaction, and I'm good to go. But if I'm doing multiple transactions, as will happen on an exchange, then at that point, I'm already losing more money, or not gaining as much money if we're talking in terms of profit, and then I'm being charged more money because of the whole process and the transaction fees, all that. So when you go into an over-the-counter platform or service, they're already getting rid of the liquidity aspect, they're getting rid of the fee aspect, they're getting rid of the volatility aspect. So this is what people with millions of dollars are doing. Now, if we keep going, for players in the basically liquidity arena, so 250,000 and up arena, because that's the typical price. Like, you can't, if for me, for instance, I couldn't just say, oh, here's $10,000, I want to do over the counter trading and get a couple of Bitcoin for six. Nope. You would have to, for many of these, you have to have over 100,000 to 250,000 just to start with, like, just to even, like, I guess get them to look at you for a negotiation. Like, they're not just going to do it, but to be able to just even approach them and get their attention, you'd have to have $250,000 and up. So over-the-counter providers can take the form of institutions, private traders, or brokers. The primary job is to provide a layer of insulation and security during the buy so that the parties involved aren't buffeted by the wild market at large while the transaction is taking place. Again, if you're just trading for trading, all the volatility is out the window. So for instance, if I had a Bitcoin and I had a friend who's like, I'll give you 64.54 right now, he pays me, I give him the Bitcoin. That has nothing to do with volatility, because I could literally just take it from my ledger and transfer it to his ledger address, whatever, and that has nothing at all to do with going through an exchange and allowing people to see it on the exchange. It'll still be visible on the blockchain itself, on the ledger, but it's not going to be visible on like the exchange account and all that. So you're avoiding that, and I already talked about the volatility. So there's that. Now, if we keep looking, here it says big institutional investors are buying large amounts of Bitcoin in the over-the-counter market. So I've already given you guys some of the backstory behind over-the-counter market and what it does, so you guys can see why it's so important. But basically, why I say the price has been so stable for so long is because in order for more institutions to get into Bitcoin or to get into cryptocurrency, they want to be able to get into a space that they know is safe, that they know is not volatile, that they know their money will not be lost, and where they know they can get massive gains. So if you think about the stock market is fairly stable. Prices, they go up quite often. I think this has been the longest bull run that the stock market has ever seen. But as in terms of everything that's happening, you don't really have to worry about losing too much money in the stock market unless it's a bad stock or a bad option or whatever it might be. And you could consistently count on gains throughout the years, and you could get worried about getting your dividends, all that. It's just all that good stuff. And though cryptocurrency is new, institutional investors expect that for them to put their money in. Now, I'm not saying that as someone who works at the institution, they don't go and put their private money into it, because they could, but we're talking about institutional accounts, or just investors or groups with millions or tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. They're not going to get $100 million into Bitcoin at 6,400 and then see it drop down to 4,000 and be like, okay, yeah, why did I even do that? So they wanted the prices to be secure. So again, this is just a theory, but I think it's very strong if we look at all the evidence, because if you look at the price of Bitcoin, it has been stable for so long. Yes, it went up to 20,000 December, January, and then it slowly declined ever since, but it hasn't really broken the $6,000 threshold. And I think this $6,000 threshold is what the institutions wanted to see, like, okay, can the markets be stabilized here? And if they can be stabilized here, can we get all our Bitcoin that we need before the bull run comes back and then make all our gains? And I think that's what they're doing. They're trying to get all their money put into Bitcoin at these prices, and once they're done, pretty much the bull run will return shortly after that. Prices will shoot up. Institutions, I don't think they'll get out of it, because that only means that there will be so much more value for Bitcoin in the future. But once they cut their money, then they're going to be like, okay, yeah, and then other institutions are going to see, okay, so and so or such and such firm, such and such institution made this much money last year with Bitcoin cryptocurrency. Now we're getting into it, and again, that all has to do with the stability. So if Bitcoin is fluctuating from 6,000 one day to 8,000 the next week to 7,000 the next week to 5,000 2 months from now, and then back up to, like, institutions wouldn't get into it because it's just it's too volatile, too risky, you lose too much money, even though you can gain a lot of money. It's just too much work, too much time, too much effort. So that's why I think that they've been, getting into the markets and trying to do it so early. And that's why they've been doing over the counter, so that primarily we as retail exchange investors, we don't really see what's going on unless we really go and look for it. And on top of that, they can get their Bitcoin for the price that they want, not the price that is dictated by the exchange and all the millions of retail investors using the exchange. They get it at the prices that they want. So Bobby Cho, the global head of trading at Cumberland, a Chicago-based cryptocurrency trading company, stated that a growing number of high net worth individuals and institutional investors are accumulating BTC over the counter. So while some cryptocurrency market data provides an estimate that the daily trading volume of Bitcoin to be around 4 billion, according to Shapeshift's CoinCap.io, which filters out inflated volumes in cryptocurrency exchanges suspected of utilizing bot trading, the real volume of Bitcoin hovers at 2.7 billion. So for large-scale investment firms, institutions, and retail traders, the global cryptocurrency market has insufficient liquidity to process multi-million-dollar buy and sell orders. I already explained this to you guys about institutions getting in, trying to do a buy and sell order with millions of dollars. It would not work effectively on an exchange. Nobody in their right mind who knows how to make money would do it. So major digital asset trading platforms could liquidate large orders, but it may have a large impact on the short-term price movement of cryptocurrency, aka keeping them stable. So there's that. Several custodian solutions, including Coinbase Custody, encourage institutional investors to utilize its custodian platform for buy orders that exceed 5 million. So again, I said 250,000 usually gets you looked at by like these over-the-counter exchange platforms, but these platforms and all these other services, they want you to do millions of dollars worth of transaction, because it's really going to affect the amount of profit that they can get. Say for instance, if they just sold it to retail investors, but at the same time, retail investors might not be able to buy altogether at 5 million at once, etc. So that's why they, 250,000 is like the standard. I guess like for validity, okay, they have enough money to do the over-the-counter trading, but at the same time, it's not going to necessarily get you the person who says, okay, I'll give you $250,000 worth. They're probably going to want more in reality. So according to Cho, high net worth individuals and institutions are using the OTC markets to process trades that exceed $100,000, which was based on the current Bitcoin price of 6,500 and is around 15.38 BTC. So here we go again. Jeremy Allaire, the CEO of Circle, a Goldman Sachs-based cryptocurrency company, revealed that the OTC business has seen triple-digit growth since its debut, and emphasized that the OTC market is a big growth area. So what this means is that not only is the over-the-counter market very profitable and very viable in terms of getting institutions to come to them, but it's also a place where there could be a lot of growth, because this might mean that if an institution just wants to drop billions or hundreds of million dollars into the cryptocurrency market, they'll just go to a very reputable or very highly valued over-the-counter exchange. And why wouldn't they? I mean, that's the smartest decision. And then also, one of the biggest criticisms of cryptocurrency by institutional investors has been the volatility over the last 4 to 6 months. The market has been trading in a very tight range, again in the 6,000 to 6,700 to 6,800 range, and that seems to be corresponding with the traditional finance institutions becoming more comfortable diving into the space. So I would again agree with that. So as you guys can see, we have a CEO of an over-the-counter exchange. He's talking about more institutional investors getting into the market. He's talking about how they're buying it. And then you also have the Goldman Sachs, you have their Circle platform CEO talking about how much growth there could be in the over-the-counter exchange services and custody projects, etc. And when they're really trying to get more people into the market, and when they're really trying to get more customers, then that means that there's much more of an upside for Bitcoin. So is that. Now, one last thing I wanted to show you guys is, if we look at, like I told you, you hear, oh yeah, institutional investors are getting in, high net worth individuals are getting in, but where's the proof, where's the math? So here we are, CaptainAltcoin.com. New wheels are here. Somebody bought 133,000 Bitcoins in the last 4 weeks, and this is dated D26, so really this is about last week. So if we go down and look, below, there are 5 addresses for the approximate dollar amount and the time of writing. So October 18th, the 15th, the 23rd, 27th, and 25th. This is how much they bought. So they bought 55,482 Bitcoin, basically 30,000 Bitcoin, 22,100 Bitcoin, 14,627 Bitcoin, and last but not least, 11,250 Bitcoin. Add this all up, we have 355 million, 191 million, 141 million, 93 million, 72 million. This adds up to almost $1 billion worth of Bitcoin being bought. Keep in mind, guys, keep in mind, this is why I say that the over-the-counter markets, and this is why I theorize that the over-the-counter markets are really just, the catalyst that'll pretty much get Bitcoin's price to in a crazy range. So again, in the very beginning of this video, I showed you guys, or I even told you, and we can go back real quick, the overall market cap right now, the overall volume and price for everything, 212 billion. That is the overall price for everything. So if we're looking at 212 billion and we're looking at this right now, and we see that someone's made a Bitcoin buy, or multiple people have made Bitcoin buys for 854 million, almost 1 billion. So just think about how much that would affect all the prices of everything. If $854 million worth of Bitcoin was being seen on an exchange or being transacted on an exchange, I guarantee you Bitcoin will be at 8,000 to 9,000 already by now, but it's not happening. And again, that's because they're over the counter. They don't want the volatility to come with, everything they're buying. This is so much money. Why would you want, exchange trade fees? Why would you want, the prices to go up and down on the Bitcoin when you're trying to buy millions, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin? You wouldn't. So if we're looking at the overall market cap, again, if we have 800, I'm not saying 800 billion would directly reflect and it would go to like $300 billion market cap, 800 million, and then it would go to a $300 billion market cap. But the overall market cap here, again, for Bitcoin, the overall market cap, where we see it is 111 billion. If you were to add 800, almost another billion to this, it would be almost insane what you would see to the price of Bitcoin, see to the price of everything else, because everything basically follows Bitcoin. And honestly, this is a good idea for anybody who wants to figure out what to invest in, or just if they're into the right investment. I would say yes, you definitely are, because no high net worth individual, no institution is going to be investing millions to hundreds of millions of dollars in anything if they thought they were going to lose money, whether it be over the next year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it might be. They're not investing this much money. So again, I say that these over-the-counter exchanges, they're really just setting up for the biggest bull run that we will ever see and that we have seen. And I'd also like to show you guys this before I go. So Circle Trade, the one I told you guys about the CEO, he said it was the market was about 3 times. There's a 3 times projection for how valuable this over-the-counter exchange trade servicing and platforms could be. If we look at how much, say for instance, you're an individual who wants to do this, high net worth individual. Click on individuals at circle.com, circletrade.com. So minimum order would be 250,000 or less in order to use their over-the-counter, trade. And then you'd also be subject to KYC, know your customer. You'd also Circle trades BTC, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and a wider range of other digital assets. So again, you have to have a lot of money to be able to do over-the-counter trading. But again, when you hear about everybody in the cryptocurrency space saying, oh yeah, the institutional investors are going to change the market, they're going to be the ones that are going to help with everything, they're not going to go to the exchanges, and that those prices are not going to reflect directly until it's time to reflect, and until they start unloading a little bit onto the exchange here and there. They're not just going to go to an exchange and again buy a $355 million worth of Bitcoin off of Binance. That's not going to happen. And then again, for institutions, I think it's the same price. So if you go to Circle Trade, $250,000 or equivalent. So yeah, that's what it is, guys. That is really the video, and I hope that answered a lot of questions for you guys in terms of like what's going on in the space right now. And I know you'll probably be left with the question, so Kikaching, when should we expect the bull run to come? When should we expect prices to start reflecting, the over-the-counter trading? I cannot give you an answer on that, to be honest. I cannot give you an answer. It's all up to the people who are buying over the counter. If they want to buy a Bitcoin for 6,400 for the next year, I would say that they definitely have the money and the power and the pool to be able to do that. If they want to buy Bitcoin for, even less than that, they have the power to pull the market down. Again, the whole cryptocurrency space is so young and so new. And I know we're talking about $200 billion worth of everything in cryptocurrency, but if that's compared to the stock market, real estate, or just traditional money, fiat money, that is not a lot of money, because these other markets, these other places, there are spaces, they're already worth trillions of dollars. So for people with hundreds of millions to almost $1 billion worth, and they can buy it over the course of 4 weeks, they can make the product, they can make the overall price of, you know, the cryptocurrency market just drop like that over the course of a week, or shoot up immensely over the course of the week. So again, we're very new. It's very early on in the whole process, but guys, do believe in whatever projects you're invested in. Make sure you're doing your research, and also if you're doing what you need to do and you're investing as much money as you can, but not to where you overextended yourself, and you honestly, and just employ patience, because if you can do that and you can just stay true, I guess stay true to yourself and not sell when you hear too much bad news or FUD, or you try and buy because you're trying to chase a coin and chase a pump. When you just stand true to yourself, when you just staying patient and holding on to your projects and earnings, then at the end of the day you will be rewarded, because at the end of the day this cryptocurrency space is worth trillions of dollars, and right now we are set up to get 5 to 10x of an overall market cap, so it translates to 20 to hundreds of X's down the line, other cryptocurrencies, like not the overall market, but other cryptocurrencies. And honestly, I think that, you know, we're in a good position. I think that we've been hearing so much good news recently. Again, I just showed you guys someone who bought, or multiple people who bought almost $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. And again, if they're doing it at 6,400, 6,500, they're expecting to make a good amount of money off that 6,500. And they're probably projecting to get way over that 20,000 all-time high, because they're wanting to get back up to that high price and then start selling off on exchanges or whatever it might be. So that's that, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please do come back for my next video. Make sure if you enjoyed it, you like, comment, and most importantly, you subscribe, because subscribe gets the word out about my channel. I know this might have been a little shoddy video, you know, just getting back into the routine of things, but of course videos will always be getting better. And yeah, that's really it. So hope you guys have a great rest of your week. We'll be coming out with another video this week, hopefully, so we'll see what happens with that. And yeah, enjoy, guys.